It was a quiet Saturday morning in the small town of Oakwood. The sun was shining through the trees, and the birds were chirping their familiar melodies. In the backyard of the Thompson family's home, their dog, Max, a loyal and energetic border collie, was playing as usual, running around and sniffing everything in sight. But that day, something was different. Max had always been an excitable dog, constantly alert to his surroundings. But for the past few hours, he had been fixated on the old shed at the far end of the yard. The shed, which had been there for as long as anyone could remember, was usually just a place for storing tools and garden supplies. It wasn't particularly exciting, but today, Max couldn't stop barking at it. He stood in front of the shed, growling and wagging his tail in agitation, as if something inside was causing him distress. At first, the Thompsons thought it was just another one of Max's quirks. After all, he had a habit of barking at squirrels, stray cats, and even the occasional passing car. But the barking persisted, louder and more insistent. Max wouldn't stop, pacing around the shed, his eyes never leaving the wooden door. Curious and slightly concerned, Mrs. Thompson decided to investigate. "Max, what are you doing?" she muttered as she walked toward the shed. Her husband, Mr. Thompson, followed behind, shaking his head. "He's been barking at that shed all morning. Maybe there's something in there that's caught his attention." They reached the shed, and as they approached, Max's barking grew even more frantic. His paws scraped at the ground, and his body was tense with excitement. Mrs. Thompson, feeling a growing sense of unease, reached for the door handle. It creaked loudly as she slowly pulled it open, revealing the dim interior of the shed. For a moment, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The shelves were lined with dusty old tools, and the floor was cluttered with unused gardening equipment. But then, from the darkest corner of the shed, a rustling sound broke the silence. Mrs. Thompson and her husband both froze. Max, still barking madly, darted forward, his tail wagging wildly as if urging them to look closer. What emerged from the corner of the shed left them both speechless. A small, emaciated figure stepped into the light, blinking in confusion. It was a tiny, scruffy puppy, no older than a few months. Its fur was matted and dirty, and its ribs were visible under its thin coat. The puppy was clearly scared, but it cautiously stepped forward, its tail wagging hesitantly. Mrs. Thompson gasped. "Where did this little guy come from?" she asked, kneeling down to the puppy's level. The dog was shaking, but it was also clearly hungry and thirsty. The Thompsons exchanged a look of shock and concern. They had no idea how the puppy had ended up locked away in the shed. It didn't belong to them, and none of the neighbors had mentioned anything about a missing dog. Max, on the other hand, seemed completely thrilled. He bounded over to the puppy, gently nudging it with his nose as if to reassure it. The two dogs sniffed each other for a moment before Max wagged his tail enthusiastically, as though welcoming the little one to the family. After bringing the puppy inside, Mrs. Thompson gave it food and water, and the puppy eagerly ate, its hunger evident. She and her husband began making calls to the local animal shelter and checked with neighbors, but no one recognized the puppy. It was clear that it had been abandoned, left alone in the shed, likely for days or even longer. Max's persistent barking had been the key to uncovering the mystery. He had sensed that the puppy needed help long before anyone else had even noticed it. As the days went by, the puppy, whom they named Scout, began to thrive. With Max by his side, Scout grew stronger, more playful, and more affectionate. The Thompsons were grateful to Max for his unwavering loyalty and his ability to alert them to the desperate situation the puppy had been in. The family never found out who had left Scout in the shed, but they knew one thing for certain. Without Max's persistent barking, the puppy might have never been discovered. It was a reminder that sometimes our pets have a unique way of seeing things we can't, like the silent cries for help that no one else hears. Thanks to Max, Scout found a new family, and the Thompsons gained a second loyal companion. And from that day forward, the shed in their backyard no longer held secrets, only the memory of a dog's instinct to protect those in need. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe for more interesting videos. like and share this video. Have a nice day.